Here we have a tool, Feldman's ArtMap Compass. You can have a look at it at your leisure, look it up on the internet, you know, and all it is a device to help you question artworks, you know, and artists. When was it made? What is it about? What's it, you know, what is it? Who made it? All of that sort of thing. A tool for curiosity engagement. Yeah. Now, your assessment task 2 is about a unit of work that involves a cultural institution and how can you use that for educational purposes? Like, what's the utility of it? So in terms of that, part of that project is to do, part of that task is to do the ArtSlice project. It's a thing that I came up with one day because I noticed people talking about artworks and it just wasn't convincing. It wasn't deep enough. So then the ArtSlice is this really cool thing of where you look at an artwork, a powerful artwork, which you must do. You select this powerful artwork and then you photograph it, non-flash photography. That's the host artwork. Yep. And then you write down, like in your own notes, what is the artwork like? What is it? What it's about? What are the media that was used? The techniques that were used? Have a look closely. Yeah, get forensic about it. It's a fantastic way to engage. Once again, we talk about the language of art. So what elements and principles of art are utilised by the artist in the composition? Have a look at the elements and principles resources. There's a plethora of them. For our purposes on the website, we'll have these fantastic PowerPoints that I got from the Curriculum Authority. And they said, yeah, by all means use them. Very cool. And what ideas are expressed by the artist? So here's the storytelling. Now, is that story resolved? Do you get that story? Because I can tell you, there is a lot of rubbish art out there, yeah? And what you like and what you don't like is a pretty good indicator. The first thing that happens, I like, I don't like, the first thing that happens is I need to know more. Find out, be informed. Then after that, you're informed of not like and like, yeah? But is the artwork resolved? So does the story come through? And how does the image reflect the times in which it was done? So it doesn't occur by itself. All artwork occurs historically, and what was the let's see, what was the cultural norm? What was the global politics? You know, skirmishes, like what was going on at the time that gets artists to respond in this way? So it's relevant. So you select, after you've taken your photograph for the ArtSlice, you select your artwork and you want to do a background search. So what is some of the information about this artwork? Like, what can you find out about it? Only so much. Well, okay. What can you find out about the artist and their other works? Oh, yeah, a bit more. Or if that's getting thin, what can you find out about that art genre? You need to dig deeply and get something of high interest, yeah? Something that's compelling and engaging. So if it's a landscape, fantastic. How does that landscape, say Australian landscape, compare with European landscape? And what you'd find there is that early Australian landscape used European trees and sky colours, and it was fake. And it wasn't until Australian painters started to do Australian landscape that they realised that there was such a vast difference. The light was completely different. The sky, the blue of the sky is utterly different than Europe, than anywhere else in the world, yeah? So that's the sort of thing you find out. Then for the ArtSlice, you crop. You take a small section of interest from that host artwork and you integrate it into a new artwork. Yeah, that's your ArtSlice. You integrate. So I would, like, if you printed it out on, let's say, colour photocopy, cut a piece out, put it down and build your new artwork around it. So draw, paint, interpretive dance, whatever you like, but you're building a new artwork that moves on from the original story. Now, it can be a completely different story, completely reframe it. But what's happening is that you're taking that context, that intention, that story, and you're building a new story. So you are engaging in the art completely. And this is a really rich thing. You imagine what would happen to a room full of year 4 students or year 3 students. They would be going off their heads with joy because it would be so much fun. They wouldn't want to go home. So ensure that you've got this ongoing dialogue. Ensure that you acknowledge the host artwork in your new artifact, always reference, and your ArtSlice project will underpin your task 2 for sure, and it will help to describe how you use a cultural institution, gallery, museum, blah, 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 in meaningful ways for educational purposes. So some of the criteria for the assessment is your presentation. So what you want to do is your ArtSlice, when you're finished, you upload it to the forum or whatever we're going to use for the subject, and you will look at other people's and make comments on them, but your comments, they'll have to show that there's appropriate questioning. And once again, you reflect on the intentions, the elements and principles and the story, a clear understanding of the aspects of the artwork, elements and principles of design, effective communication and use of language. Yeah, so test your language, use it, try it out amongst yourselves so you start to get comfortable with it, because you'll need to be. And then the utility of the project for educational purposes. So how does it integrate with other subject areas? Oh yeah, this particular artwork, and I'll do some examples on that later, but this particular artwork, it really connects well with mathematics or with geography or with science. And then there'll be examples of that. This particular ArtSlice is of high interest. It's an image of a giant painting that we have here done by Norma Bull, and it's called Music, oil on canvas. Now, what I'd like to have a look at, you'll see my little arrow running around, my mouse, the cat chasing it, is that we need to understand that with artworks, they're basically a whole movie in themselves. There is nothing in the painting or nothing in an artwork that wasn't intentionally put there, yeah? So here we're looking at this. How do we decode this? What is happening in this scene? So the first thing you'll see is that there's this woman playing the piano, there's this man playing this violin, there's people in the background. Okay, surface level. I need to go deeper, deeper. So the woman playing the piano is relatively young. Okay. The people in the background are about the same age or a little bit younger. Interesting. The guy playing the violin is definitely older, and the woman here looks like grandmother or mother. Formal documents down on the floor, written music. So what we have here is highly likely to be a scene of where this young lady is either rehearsing or demonstrating her capacity to be culturally engaged. At this time, in this era, when this sort of thing happened, young people, women especially, had to be able to recite poetry or write poetry, had to be able to write stories or paint or play a musical instrument or sing. So they had to do something that showed that they were cultured. And in this instance, this is pretty clear that she's doing her recital to show that she's cultured enough to enter society. This fellow is most likely to be her music teacher, and as such, he's accompanying her to make sure that this all goes well. The grandmother, is absolutely in dire straits. Really, man, she's really on the ball there about making sure nothing goes out of place. So this goes really well for her. And the friends in the background, they're cool. They're listening and being almost engaged and waiting for cakes and drinks. Now, for ArtSlice, this is my host artwork. And I go, that's of interest. What can I find out about Norma Bull? So I find out that Norma Bull is one of a few women who are Australian war artists. And she'd gone over to London to paint scenes over there, a bit like Hilda Rix-Nichols. She'd gone over to paint these scenes, and all of her paintings that you see are these really dull, grey, blue, foggy, dead people, dead soldiers lying around, dead people lying around, half buildings, bomb craters, everything. So she's doing that in London, and at the time, if you'd appreciate the weather in London, the soot in London from all of the coal fires, everything like that, man, the place was depressing, yeah, in its own right. So she did that for a few years, and then she came back to Australia not feeling so well. When she got back to Australia, one of the things she said was she staggered. She couldn't believe how bright the colours were, how bright the sky was. All of a sudden, she re-embraced Australia and she understood it. And then she started doing other paintings, and these were a lot of beach scenes. So in my haste to respond to this task, and I used another Norma Bull painting. Now, I would appreciate that you make your own artwork. Because I came up with this idea 20 minutes before I had to give the class, I had to use Photoshop and combine the two images, but it's pretty good. So here it is. This is another Norma Bull painting, and it's called By the Rock Pool. And so I've called it Music by the Rock Pool, because from the music room, and put the little subtitle, Clarissa disliked the stuffy evenings at home, but she thrived with her friends at the seaside. And I love the fact that Norma Bull's come back. She's seen the Australian colours on the beach, and she's doing these paintings of this nude beach around Sydney. And so I've taken the piano and the lass, and I've turned it around facing the other direction, gave her a bit more space on her back so she could get some sun, because I thought she was looking a bit pale there. Introduced all of the shadows to try and anchor it down. And just for my own amusement, this rock outcrop here in the middle of the bay, that's actually the top of the lid of the piano, and I've just given it a texture to make it look rock, but that's just to remind me that that was the whole piano. And then we find out, like, what do we know about Norma Bull? So here it is, 1906, painter, blah, 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 Britain, war, house, returned to Australia, and she followed Worth's circus around painting circus scenes. Like, how fantastic is that? From bomb sites to circus scenes, lots of energy, lots of moving forward. So this is what you want to do with your ArtSlice. You want to find something exciting and engaging, something of meaning that will move the story forward, so that it makes it really easy to use that in a school setting, yeah, in a unit of work or part of a unit of work. Here's another one that will help how to consider the artwork. So this is great, because this one says, I can't find anything on this painting. Yeah. Did you look? Did you really look? Yeah, we did. So then I really looked, and I got quite excited about it. This is Elaine Hexton, Girl with Kite, 1940. So the first thing that I think is, like, what's going on here with this young lass running along bare feet with a dog, holding this kite up in the air, but her face, it's not smiling. That is so unnatural. That's of intrigue. So then I look at the face, and while I'm looking at that, I realise, Monet's haystacks, this kite has been in 3 positions. So there's one there, and there's the cord. There's another just behind here. You get a clearer view of that in a minute. And then there's the final one here. So she's obviously working with it. There's the paintwork around the front of the face here. So you'll see it here, which means that there were fine touch-ups. There was adjustments made here. So here it is, Elaine Hexton. I'm thinking that face is so, let's see. It's historical. You know, this is a Greek face. This is something that you'd find on vases and things. So I take a section of the face and I do a Google image search with that to discover what I'm looking for. Oh, first, yeah, there's the kite there. 1, 2, 3. 3 positions. And also the dog's leg, this bit down here. So she struggled with that. You need to understand that every artwork an artist makes is practice for the artwork that will follow it. Yeah? It's process-oriented, not product-oriented. Well, for some artists, it's product-oriented, like Ken Doan did really well. So the process for you and for students, the process is absolute. It is the key, because, oh, that's a great artwork. No, that was a great process you went through to learn and contribute what you got. So let's have a look again. Here's another face. There we go. This is what I've come up with. And then I did a bit more searching. I came up with another face. And look at how similar they are. Yeah. So this is a very, let's see, historical. It's a very historical face. And then I take that face and I turn around and I put it up against my Girl with Kite, and I have a look that the treatment is so similar. And I discover that this one is done by Elaine Haxton. So, of interest, our Elaine Hexton has been misnamed for quite some time. So we've made amends. And so Elaine Haxton, now I'm very interested in Elaine Haxton. Where did she go? So here it is. This is the image that I discovered and had a look, and I could see that there were similarities. And I thought, it was very interesting treatment of people, of portraits, of situations. There must be more to it. Here it is. Here she is, quite young, and we discover that she studied at East Sydney Tech with Raina Hoff, and that she worked with a group including Russell Drysdale, Donald Friend, and William Dobell. That's powerful. That's really important. And she was later painted for the Archibald Prize in 1941, so they really liked her. She really liked them. And I'm thinking, for her painting technique, who did she learn off? What did she learn? So we go through a number of them, and Drysdale and Dobell, they're very, very close to a lot of techniques, as is Friend, to a lot of techniques that she's got. But I like this particular one. This is Image of Colin by Donald Friend. So then I take Colin's head, transfer it around the other way, and have a look at Elaine Hexton's face, and have a look at very similar treatments with the eyes, with the chiseled features, with how that's going. And from that, I can take that she really learned to do her craft from other artists. And she practiced, as all artists do. But now we have something highly interesting about Elaine. Here is a later photograph of her in a studio. And I love this because up here in the corner, up behind her, there it is. That typical face that she loves to paint. So that's how she likes to do faces. I'm good with that. She's good with that. How fantastic. So there's an interesting thing that we found, some research that we found through ArtSlice. And that's what you should do. You know, like it doesn't have to be it could be a sculpture. Yeah. You could embrace architecture if you could figure out how to do that really well. But something of high interest from a cultural organisation, cultural institution, that really takes takes your curiosity or is powerful for you, and then dig deeper and find out, and then move the story forward, much the same as I did with Norma Bull's work. So in your folio, in your resources, here's this thing. You want to ask yourself, what is our role as teachers? Yeah? And what is the role of art education? Really important, considering that the arts are getting squeezed out of the curriculum. Yeah? So what is the role of art education? And think about it in terms of culture building. How thin would our culture be if you didn't have art in it? And I can say, like, quite happily, there is nothing that you can engage that doesn't include art or aesthetic about it. Yeah? Good luck. Thanks very much. Cheers, and see you next time. Stop recording. Bye.